Today's learning target is I can multiply positive and negative integers. So just like there are rules when we add integers, for example, a negative plus a negative is always going to be a negative, like negative 2 plus negative 3 would be negative 5. There's also some rules when we multiply integers. One of those rules is if we multiply integers with different signs, the answer is always going to be negative. Okay, so there's a couple of examples right here. So if you had a negative 3 times 4, okay, 4 times 3 is 12, and because there's one negative right here and one positive, remember if we don't see a negative there, this is going to be positive. So 4 times 3 is 12, and there's one negative, so it would be negative 12. 5 times a negative 4 would be negative 20. Okay, 1 times negative 1 would be a negative 1. Another rule for multiplication with integers is that the product, and remember product just means when you the answer to a multiplication problem. So the product of two integers, so the answer to a multiplication problem, two numbers with the same sign is always going to be positive. So there's two examples right here. 6 times 2 is 12. Okay, negative 10 times a negative 6, so that's two of the same integer or same sign, so they're both negative. It's going to be a positive answer. So we could have, this is no different. 7 times 5, okay, you know that to be 35. Okay, so this is a positive and a positive, so it's going to be positive. I could have a negative 7 times a negative 5. Okay, and so I have a negative and a negative, and so I have the same sign, and two integers with the same sign, it's going to be positive. So I would get 35. Okay, so 6 times 2 would be 12. If I had 6 times negative 2, that would be negative 12, because here I have one negative and one positive. Okay, whereas if I had negative 6 times negative 2, that would equal 12. I have two of the same sign, two negatives. That's always going to be a positive. I'll walk through a couple of problems here on this page. I can see my first problem here is going to be negative 11 times a negative 9. And just a reminder, if you don't see a sign, an addition, subtraction sign, division, it's going to be multiplication. Okay, so this is going to be negative 11 times negative 9. And so when I solve these, I notice that there's a negative, and I know when I multiply two integers with the same sign, the answer is always going to be positive. So I know 11 times 9 is 99, and it's going to be positive because I have two of the same integer right there. Okay, on my next problem here, negative 4 squared. Now a reminder, negative 4 squared means it's negative 4, and we're going to times it by itself 2 times. So negative 4 times a negative 4. Some people get confused and they'll say negative 4 times 2, but it's not. It's squared, so it means negative 4 times it by itself twice. So a negative times a negative is a positive. So 4 times 4 is 16, and it's positive. Now on this one right here, I see I have three things that I'm multiplying. Keep in mind when I'm multiplying, I can multiply in whatever order I want. Okay, so I guess for me, I'm just going to multiply these two first, the negative 4 and the negative 2. So it's a negative times a negative, so that means my answer is going to be positive. Okay, so I'm going to get 4 times 2 is 8, and I know it's positive. So I'm going to put the bracket around so I remember to remind myself that it's multiplying. And then I have a negative 3 that I'm now going to multiply this by. So it's a negative 3 times 8. I know 8 times 3 is 24. And I see I have one negative and one positive. There's my negative, and 8 is positive. So one negative and one positive means it's going to be negative. My last one is negative 3 cubed. So just a reminder, that means a negative 3, and I'm timesing it by itself 3 times. So negative 3 times negative 3. times negative 3. Okay, so 3 times a negative 3 times negative 3. Okay, it's a negative times a negative, so that means my answer is going to be positive on this one when I multiply these two numbers. So 3 times 3 is 9. That's going to be positive. Okay, and now I've got to take, and I need to multiply it by negative 3. So I take a look at this and I say 9 times 3 is 27. And I have one negative right there, and 9 is positive. So I multiply one negative, one positive. It's going to be negative.